And the million faces formed together, made for elevation. And the soldier won't surrender faith is like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard, love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up, heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up, heart is beating faster, feels like thunder, magic static. Call me a fanatic, it's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up, it's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping and the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath when they pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up, heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up, heart is beating faster, feels like thunder, magic static. Call me a fanatic, it's our world, they
And welcome everyone to another episode of Straight Talk with Joe Vollano. It is your favorite nut sitting here waiting to take you guys on a quick ride through all the craziness and nonsense going on in the city. I tell you, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to try to get through it all. Let's get the formalities out first. Of course, I am Joe Vollano. I'm your host, your guiding light through all this nonsense. And of course, as I have been called, I am the nut. So, I enjoy it. I've gotten a lot of response about a call that we got last week. Will we get to some of it? Maybe, but we have a lot to talk about that's going to take priority over that. As always, if you want to be part of the show, as I always suggest you guys do, feel free to call in 203-679-9610, and you never know who's going to call in. You just never know. No one expected that last week, but again, I enjoy talking to the other side. If you want, you can email us, straighttalkjv@gmail.com. Or, of course, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, hopefully TikTok pretty soon. So if you are on TikTok, look up Straight Talk with Joe Vollano and like us on TikTok also, and hopefully we'll be able to stream there pretty soon. So now that we got those formalities put away, first I want to give my condolences to all those that are in the Midwest. A lot of my friends from AT&T days live out there in Illinois and Kentucky. So my best goes out to them. They've been hit by a ton of tornadoes. And they had, right now, I just printed one out before, the longest ever tornado went through last night. 250 miles that thing was on the ground for through 4 states. It's absolutely unbelievable and just shows you how vicious Mother Nature can be. But again, my best out to them. I know they are safe. I talked to a couple of them today. So again, just my best goes out to everybody affected by the tornadoes out there in the Midwest. On a positive note, we have, in the great city of Meriden, we have state champions. Our Maloney, Joseph goes to Maloney. Maloney football comes home with their first ever state championship. Congratulations to them. Coach Frederick did an amazing job this year. They went 12-1 on a 12-game winning streak, which obviously means they lost the first game. But congratulations to every single one of not only the players, the coaches, the students that help on the sidelines, the boosters, the fans, the parents. Without all of that coming together, this is not possible. So again, congratulations to the city, to the east side, to Maloney High School, to all the students there. Absolutely amazing job. Our first ever state championship. So, and they beat Windsor 35-21 to win the CIAC Class L championship. So I can't congratulate them enough. We almost came close a couple of years ago, and we came up short. There should be a parade. There absolutely should be a parade. And even if it's just around the school. And I think I'm taking it there's going to be a huge I got to imagine there's going to be a pep rally tomorrow. I would hope so. I would hope that all the students are going to be able to get together to congratulate their fellow students. I know Joseph's unfortunately going to miss it. Joseph's on quarantine still for another week, so he doesn't get to go back till the following Monday, since he came into contact apparently with someone who has COVID. Luckily, Joseph did not. He tested negative, but he is home again doing remote learning for another week, which brings me to the Board of Ed. Now, we started last week talking about the Board of Ed, and we talked about the baseball fields that were going to cost $1.5 million. Now, I've been told. Now, I've been after the Board of Ed for many months now, even before this story hit, about how they came about with all these projects. And I asked, well, why weren't parents involved in these projects and asking what their opinions were. Let me, how much I love them. We're going to go back over here. And I've been asking, why have the parents not been asked what they want to see done with the $23.6 million that the Board of Ed is getting? You know, we talk about, which we'll get into in a little later. The city has a standing committee or a search committee that is overseeing all the applications for dispensing of the city side of the COVID relief funds. But as far as the Board of Ed, apparently with the Board of Ed, it's free. It's a free for all. They just, whatever they decide they want to do, that's what they wanted to do. So I asked, well, why weren't the parents involved in this? Why weren't the PTOs involved in this? Why weren't the teachers involved in this? Which administrators were involved in this? Where did the Board of Ed get all these projects? And I was told that, oh, well, a survey went out to the parents. I was like, that's funny. I didn't see no survey. So so I got this from the Board of Ed, and this is in an email from Mark Benigni. And this is dated September 22nd at 9 a.m. This went out to Meriden Public School families. And I'm taking it, this went through Parent Square. I couldn't find it on my Parent Square, but apparently this went out. So it says, thank you for all your support as we strive to meet the needs of our students. As Meriden Public Schools is poised to receive significant funding, we want your feedback on where these resources would be most beneficial. This is a 3-year grant, and we are excited to have these additional resources. Please choose the top 2 areas where you would like resources to be invested over the next 3 years. Now, they said, please choose the top 2, but when you get down to the survey, it asks for your top 3. So, I mean, that's already. And the choices were outdoor learning spaces, staffing, building modernization, school grounds, summer learning, technology, and curriculum. And underneath, it says outdoor learning spaces, including outdoor classrooms, pavilions, playground equipment, and fields, and all this other stuff. I'll put all this up on the site later on tonight. And out of all those, they had 2,630 responses for the first, second, and third. That means that a total, I have it here. Once I grab it, a total of 869 people took this survey. Now that's saying that they only have 1 child in school. So if they have 2 or 3, they could take it 3 times. Because when you get onto the survey, it asks which child are you doing it for. Like I have 2 kids in the public school system, so I could do it twice. So that means out of 8,600 students, 869 took the survey. Now, to me, so that's 9%, 9.8% of the parents took it. Now, to me, as a Board of Ed, I would think, well, that's not very many. So maybe most people didn't get this. Or most people maybe want to have more voice on this. Maybe we should have a public hearing. Maybe we should have a steering committee. Maybe we should do what the city's doing. But no, they just decided to do whatever they wanted. But here's why. This, like I said, this was dated September 22nd. This survey was dated September 22nd. And these are they gave 2, 4, 6, 7 options on what you wanted done with that money. The problem I'm having with that is that this, I'll try to put it to the camera. This was dated back in June. And what this is exactly what they're going to spend the money on. already laid out. This is our, so they're telling us all the money that they had already spent, where we're going to spend, is ridiculous. So this was done back in June. They came up with how they were going to spend the $23 million and then realized, wait a minute, maybe we should send this out to make it look like the parents are going to have a voice. So they turn around and they send out that survey in September, knowing that everything on there is already in here. I want to know who came up with this list that cost $23 million. Who came up with this list? Because it certainly weren't parents. It certainly weren't teachers. It certainly weren't the PTOs. So who came up with this list? Who decided to unilaterally decide how to spend $26 million? That's public money. That's taxpayers' money. You know, for a Board of Ed that cries friggin' broke every friggin' year, they're spending $1.5 million. $1.5 million to take over those fields we talked about last week. When you have perfectly good fields all over the city to play in. It's ridiculous. And that's only the start of it. But everything that was on that survey, they weren't looking for your advice. They weren't looking for your input. They weren't looking at it. They weren't looking for your, they just wanted to sit there and put the perception out there that they were being transparent when they weren't. Because no matter what you selected in that survey, they already had in here. So they win on both sides. And they were very vague. They didn't tell you specifically what they were going to do. But they knew damn well what they were going to do. Because, like I said, back in June, they put it on paper. They put it on paper back in June. Transparency is the most important thing when it comes to having a government you can trust. This is the most non-transparent. This is the most non-transparent piece of legislation coming out of the Board of Ed that I've ever seen. And I think it's a disgrace. And I think the Board of Ed should be ashamed of themselves for allowing this to go forth the way it did. I want to know who the players were and who put this friggin' list together. Because this list didn't magically appear. This list did not magically appear. The Board of Ed has the obligation to be transparent and be forthcoming in who put this list together. Because I look at some, I've been hearing, well, I go back and I do my research and I hear about who the players are in this, especially when it comes to the baseball fields, because obviously that's the thing I was looking at the most. And I hear about LaRue Graham with the traveling softball team. And I hear about Job Benigni, who runs the board, who runs the YMCA, who's worried about a place for his son to play baseball when he has a traveling team next year. It's crazy. Ed, it didn't matter what you picked. It didn't matter what you picked. That's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of their little system here. See, if it wasn't for us sitting here, questioning them right now about this, nobody would be any wiser. People would be like, oh, well, what I picked made it on the list. It didn't matter what you picked. It was already on their list, on their wish list, on their goodies list. So they gave the perception that you were being part of the system and you were being part of the process, when really you were nowhere near the process. Only a select few were. and they decided what they were going to do. That's what pisses me off the most. That is what pisses me off the most. Because again, for a Board of Ed that complains every single friggin' year, we need more funding, we need more funding, we need more funding. We can't do this, we can't do that. But I'm going to spend $1.5 million on a friggin' baseball field we don't need. We're going to spend $1.5 million on a baseball field we don't need. We have plenty of them around the city. But there are other people in power in the city that want us to take over these fields so we could fix them up for their benefit. So therefore, we're going to do that. And like I said, that's only the start. That is sadly, only the start. There's all sorts of goodies on this list. And like I said, I'll post all this because it is important that you guys do see it. This is not transparency. They could try to shape it any way they can. But we're going to call bullshit on it because that's exactly what it is. You know, and I've been told, oh, but Republicans run. And I think our caller mentioned it last week. Well, Republicans run the Board of Ed. So what? Does that mean I give them a pass? Does that mean I give them a pass because they're Republicans? That's not a game I play. I think I made that abundantly clear since the beginning of this show. When there are wrongdoings in this city, they will be called out no matter what party they are. This is an embarrassment. And the fact that it came from a Republican-controlled Board of Ed, I'm doubly embarrassed because I hold them at a higher standard. If anything, I'm harder on Republicans on this show than I am on Democrats because I expect this kind of crap from Democrats. I do not expect it from Republicans at all. And I'm friendly, and I'm friends with all Republicans that are on the board. But that doesn't mean I won't call people out. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about friendship. This is about transparency, and this is about tax dollars and the city of the Meriden. The hard-working taxpayers of this city, it's their tax dollars. Whether it came from the federal government back to the city, state, or the city, it's still the taxpayers' money. So, I don't play that game. Now, I'll be following up again with the Board of Ed next week. Well, really tomorrow. Because there's more answers for this. There's more answers that you deserve to have. This was a sham. And if we did not uncover this, and we did not bring questions to this, nobody would never know. Everyone would have thought exactly what you thought. Well, I picked this, I picked that, I picked that. And look, it made the list. That's what most parents probably think. When really you had no control and no say in the matter whatsoever. If I did take this survey and I found out, I'd be more pissed. Because then I'd feel like I was deceived. And you were. It's quite embarrassing. The RJ is never going to do their job. You know what? You know why the RJ is never going to do their job, Bob? Because we haven't even gotten into the city stuff yet. I know Dan. I see Dan Zabrowski already got onto it. So we're going to go over all the things the cities want to do. Oh, the wish list coming out of these. And the RJ is on this list for $300,000. $300,000 the board the RJ is trying to get along with the Meriden Economic Development. So you're trying to say we're going to spend $300,000 on Meriden Business Boost? 2. Meriden Business Boost, Meriden Economic Development, and the RJ Media Group for $300,000. Yeah, I don't think so. So let's see. So I think Deanna correctly mentioned that they are doing it tomorrow, I believe. So there are some things on here that have already passed, and that like the library HVAC replacement, $1.9 million to replace the HVAC system at the library. Now, last time I checked, the library just got $13 million to redo the entire thing. I would have to think that the HVAC system was already in there. I'm sure when they put these plans together for the library, that the HVAC system was being replaced. They weren't going to keep the old HVAC system. Wouldn't have made much sense. So why are we paying $1.9 million for it now? Or is this library really costing us $15 million to $16 million? That's what I'm thinking. So this library is really costing us about $16 million when all is said and done. Most of this stuff I could get on board with it. Fire pumper, the premium pay for the parks, the city hall HVAC system. I don't get this. The parks splash pad. It has a 3 after it. I'm thinking, is that 3 different splash pads? Because I don't think we have 3 different splash pads in the city of Meriden. I believe there's only 1. So I need to get more on that. But then there's some businesses on here. And I don't get this. Downtown Coffee Shop wants $100,000. Silver City Firearms wants $75,000. Caking LLC wants $7,500. Legends Barbershop wants $20,000. For what? For what? Listen, we all got hit hard on COVID. There's thousands of businesses that got hit hard with COVID. We shouldn't be picking and choosing winners and losers. Private businesses should not be getting COVID relief funds from the city at all. The SBA, the Small Business Administration, has a ton of grants and loans that you could get if your company's having issues. So no, so those should automatically be scratched. Any private business should not be on here. Silver City Ballroom wants $50,000. Public surveys, I don't get this one. Public surveys for the city of Meriden, $48,000. Well, public, I think we already expressed that surveys usually don't work in the city's favor, but they want to do it anyways. Meriden YMCA splash pad, $161,000. Listen, the YMCA makes a ton of money. They can sit there and say they're a nonprofit all they want. They buy up more property in cities and towns around us. It's ridiculous. They obviously have money. They do not need $161,000 from the city's taxpayers at all. So no, take that out. But again, it all depends on who you know. Private businesses had the ability to get, yeah, absolutely. And that's where they should stay getting them. Sure, a lot of these do get grants. Like a lot of this water division stuff, all for. That's what this money should be used for. Because at the end of the day, that will lower everybody's water bills. Or at least stabilize them. That's what this stuff should be used for. The equal empowerment for the next generation. Children Must Work, Inc. $2 million. Yeah, no. In fact, I'll get into that because I looked into some of these. But there are so many things. But at least I'll give them this. I'll give the city this. At least they're being transparent. At least they are being transparent with what they're doing. The city is being transparent by putting a steering committee and making you file an application for approval or even for consideration, because anything that comes out of the steering committee still has to go to the city council for approval. But at least they're being transparent with it. Even if I don't agree with some of these things they go forward with, at least we could say, one, they were transparent, and two, I can sit there and say, hey, elections have consequences, right? These are the people you elected. These are the things you get. Reading design of the city website definitely needs to happen there, Dan. I'll have to disagree with you there. Because I tell you what, the city's website sucks ass. I'm sorry. It is the worst and most, as one of our callers would say, horrific. And I go on there in horror sometimes trying to navigate it. And if you're watching this show in horror tonight, it's because you're finally realizing that your government is screwing you over. That's the only thing that you should be watching in horror with tonight, is that you finally realize the light bulb's going off at the top of your head saying, wow, my government really doesn't care about me. My government really thinks I'm an idiot. Wow, my government really doesn't want to hear about my opinion. And they don't. They don't want to hear your opinion. They want you to sit there and say, thank you, and be done. Thank you and be done. Move on. Oh, they're betting you over. So here's kind of a couple of the things that they were looking for. $2 million for the Children Must Work. And according to the description on it, it aims to bridge the gap between school and working while interrupting the school to prison pipeline by providing access to work that builds self-esteem, increases responsibility and accountability, while also apparently improving valuable life skills, moving children out of poverty and into prosperity. Well, if they have a job, then they're probably not going to be in poverty for much longer. And if they were in school prior, I don't get what $2 million is going to do for you. And bridge the gap between school and working. Well, if you're in school, then I'm taking it you're not working. Or are we talking about adults here? And therefore, if it's adults, well, even more reason why I'm not going to spend $2 million. That's me. This one I can't get behind. And this is a nonprofit. And I understand that some people don't like giving money to nonprofits. I know they get grants, but this was one, the Meriden Wildwood, the agency provides victims of domestic violence, including transitional housing. They're looking for $618,000. Whether or not it needs to be that much is up for interpretation and discussion. But I do believe that these organizations were hit hard during COVID, providing, again, these organizations do not charge their recipients. The YMCA, you have to pay for their services. So therefore, no, they do not deserve that money. If you're a nonprofit not charging your customers for the people you serve, then I have a little bit more leniency for it. So hopefully they do get that, because again, I think that really is important. Having a place to go when you're in a abusive relationship, especially for women with children, I am all for helping them get out of the situations they're in, because I think that's horrifying. And I think, yes, we should be spending money that way. This is one is blowing my mind. Gallery 53. Gallery 53. Well, just real quick before we get into Gallery 53, Ray and Dan, I 100% agree that the senior center should be rebuilt somewhere else. They need to put an application forward. They still don't have an application forward. So that's something that the director of the senior center should be working with the city and getting an application submitted. Because I think that is absolutely a priority for the city of Meriden. These seniors, if you haven't been to the senior center, it's a disgrace to what these seniors have to go through. And it's dangerous. Whether you're coming through the Downstairs side or you're going over through the West Main Street side, it's dangerous over there. And you could, exactly it, Dan, you could put the public health, which needs a new building also, because they keep flooding out, which is why they're temporarily relocated into the senior center, move both of those over to the green in that empty spot where the Mills was, and put a joint senior center, health department right there. That's where the seniors should be. Put them somewhere where they can be honored to be at and be safe and have all their services right there within reach. So, but they have to put the application in, Dan. And that's something that needs to happen quickly. But back to Gallery 53, another nonprofit group, which, again, they charge for certain things. So whether they're a nonprofit group or not is a stretch to me in some ways. So they're seeking $779,000 for funding for replacement of the building's roof and to replace its more than a century-old elevator, which is prone to mechanical failures. Now, for what I'm hearing, because I ended up reaching out to a couple people on this, apparently this building is falling apart. So why are they going to spend $779,000 to help fix it? It's not theirs. As far as I know, they pay rent there. Why don't they just find another place? There's plenty of empty buildings in this city that you can move to fix all those issues instead of spending $779,000 of taxpayers' money. I am 110% not for this. And this is the funny part. The original cost for replacing the roof was $60,000. Now that there's grant money involved or COVID money involved, now leaders know the roof will cost $230,000 to replace. If that's not government spending for you, I don't know what is. The fact that they even put that in paper, the fact that they even said it, is just another reason for me to sit there and say, no way. Because now I don't trust you. You don't go from $60,000 to $230,000. 700% increase. A 700% increase. Are you kidding me? What is wrong with these people? Even Joe Biden inflation isn't that much. I mean, these are the things that again, people think we're stupid. We're not stupid. I'll give credit to Kevin, though. The city, we need one. They want more applications. Okay, whatever. But we need to, I love this one. Scarpati said we need to look at more programs geared to economic development. In particular, something we've been talked about many times here. In particular, startup program that could help small businesses launch. I've been saying that for years. For years. You want to fix downtown. It's going to cost money. Democrats in this city have fucked up downtown so bad. There is nothing we can possibly do to bring people in. There's no disposable income down there. There's none. And then the proof of that is that 5 years later, That whole place is empty. I said it when they first thought about it. I said, you can't do it. You can't rebuild this way. I said it, a year and a half that we are now done. There's nothing we can do. There is nothing we can do about it. Hold on one second. We got a call coming in. Bring you up here. Let's see who we got on the phone here. Can you hear me? Oh, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I got to bring you up on my... You there? Can you hear me?
Hello?
There you are.
Yeah, I can hear you. I just wanted to make a comment on Gallery 53.
Who's this?
Now, that building, you realize there's 2 owners of that building.
Hold on. First of all, state your name so we know who we're talking to, even though I know who you are.
John.
Hey, John.
Lavenda.
So, John, go ahead. Tell me about Gallery 53.
No, I just, I've attended every single, American
I know you do.
meeting. And, yes, I agree. The money, and I brought this up, we have to use this money as an investment. So would you invest $780,000 into a building that's worth $240,000 tops?
Right.
The building next door sold for $149,000. Now, I guess it's sold again. But that roofing replacement, is it just for their side, or are they putting in for both sides?
Well, I got to imagine they're going to do it for the whole thing.
Question. Well, there's 2 owners. There's the American, what is it called? The Artist Crafts Association of Meredith owns 53 Colony. And this other gentleman that just bought it from Woodbridge, Connecticut, he's from 51 Colony Street. So, it's 2 separate entities there, but it's one, it seems like one building, but it's not. Like you said, I agree with you. Why don't you find a new place?
Well, for $700,000, why not? Of course. There's plenty of places.
Exactly. And this is what I try to tell this, this committee, you have to, give people the money they're going to invest in the town. It's going to, we get a return on our money I have a couple small businesses that are, probably eyeing for the money, but what they're going to do is increase the taxes in Meriden. It's going to be, what they're going to do to their building, and they're owner occupied. Mm-hmm. They're not like, the coffee shop down there. Come on. The coffee shop and the new gun store. Come on. That's, to me, that's a joke. We know what that's all about, but, if you're an owner occupied and you're going to increase, the grand list, I don't see a problem. I really don't. Because it's going to be, and I agree with you also with, yes, we should spend most of the money on the water department, to help the taxpayers out.
Well, you look at some of that water, you used to look at some of those water lines, and they're over 100 years old. That need to be fixed. And again, I agree with Kevin. Like I said, I've been saying this for years. Downtown is done unless you sit there and put more money into it. And the only way you put more money into it is, like Kevin said, and what we've been talking about, is giving tax relief and giving these small startup loans to help, build out some of these locations downtown. Is the only way you're going to get anyone to even take an initiative to go down there, even look.
The Making Meriden Business Center, that was a total bust.
Well,
but like I said, I think you brought it up too. My whole thing was I want to develop Chamberlain Highway. I've been saying that at the POC meetings, these meetings, all of them. It'll trickle down. If you see developers coming into a city, then it'll trickle down. But you got an opportunity on the Chamberlain Highway, to do something with a major chain, not downtown. Downtown is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But if they do see, development in other parts of the city, like I said, I had a friend that, came to Meriden. They tried to, get him to buy, and he's not going to. He's not going to buy, in downtown Meriden. You have literally from 5 Colony Street to 20 Colony Street that's empty.
Yes.
Solely empty on Colony Street. They want to take over those buildings. Why? I don't know. What are you going to do with what you're taking over? Then you have 20 Colony Street that's for sale. So, I don't see anybody jumping to buy those buildings.
No, so I listen.
So
I know I've said it here a couple times, and I said absolutely, you're absolutely right. We have screwed up downtown so much. We need to work now from the outside in. So we need to work from the
right,
East Main Street, the West Main Street, your Chamberlain Highway. We need to work our way downtown from the outside.
right,
I think again, the only way we do anything downtown is, like I said, it's going to be a spitting image of what happened in Derby back in 2006,
right.
where they're just going to take everything eminent domain and they're going to sell it off to a developer and let them do what they want down there. I think it's really the
Right.
only option. There's no income down there. You just can't.
Right.
You can't build the business down there.
Right. The other thing with these American Rescue Funds is, I tried to see some of the applications, which I was told I couldn't.
Why
With
not?
I think I called FOI. I think they just don't. I went directly to the city manager's office and asked the girl there. I wanted to see applications because you have to disclose monies that you've gotten before.
Yes.
Like Gallery 53 got money from the Cuno Foundation. That's another foundation that gives money away. The Cuno Foundation paid for the signs for Christmas in the Village. We have nothing better to do with these people that are on this board to give money for Christmas in the Village signs. We can't give it to students, and I believe it should be all for the kids and camps and whatever the kids need.
Well, I tell you what,
that's my whole thing.
For the Board of Ed, I would have to agree with you a little bit more on that. I think for the city side should be what's going to benefit the community as a whole. That's going to help ease the burden on the taxpayers of the city.
Right. But on that, like I said, on that application, the reason I want to see these applications, I want to make sure, and I'm hoping, that they're disclosing, because on the application it says, have you received any money? Either community development block grant money, Cuno Foundation, what other grants that they've received. And then some of these people are putting in for one or more. See, they're putting in, I think it's Change the Play, for instance. That was another one.
Yes.
And this is why I want to see the application. They tried to bring it forward under a to-be-determined project, which totally illegal the way you set your agenda up. So you had, I think that night was, I don't know if it was the library or I don't know who it was. Or it could have been the fire pumper. But then the next one is on the agenda, to be determined. How do you put on the agenda to be determined? How do people know to either, speak in for it or against it? So this woman represented Change the Play, and they're involved, this organization involved in feeding the kids in the summer. So it said feeding quarantine children.
Yeah,
so we're like,
60,000.
I don't understand what that means. You know what that meant? It meant a truck. They're looking for a frozen food truck. And I'm like, okay, so this is the reason I want to see these. I'd like to see the applications that are coming forward so we can see, is it best for them to use these funds? Like Gallery 53, for instance, again, they said, well, during COVID, we lost sales. You're looking for $780,000. What do you do in sales a year?
Right.
It's like, and then the other thing with Gallery 53 is they've been talking about this roof for 2 years almost. So how much money have you raised so far? Are you going to, they wanted to see people, say, geez, we got X amount of money towards this already. We need a little help.
Well, but, but again, with that, how do you go from saying just less than a year ago that it was $60,000 and now saying
I think we're going to do the whole
230?
Roof. I think it was,
But still,
I think they were going to share the expense of the building, and now they're going to do the whole thing. I have a feeling that's what it's all about.
Okay.
I can't say for sure.
Okay, let's take
for sure.
Let's take it for what you just said. If they were doing half because they own half the building at $60,000, even if they weren't going to share it, now they're going to do the whole thing. What, $120,000? But
right.
$230,000 now? No, they
Right.
lost all my my confidence and trust in that alone. It's like you cannot
Right.
go up 700% and say, this is what it is now. No, it just doesn't work
Right.
that way.
And then, I brought this up at the last meeting. I'm against these people that are looking for money for a program. Now, you're going to get a check for this one specific year. What are we going to do next year? How are you going to fund this the following year and the following year and the following year after that?
Well, you can't.
So, there's some programs they want to bring into the schools. And, of course, you brought up the Record Journal. I'm like,
$300,000. I mean, at this point, I'm ready to put in an application for Filler Up and sit there. Hey, listen, give me $1 million, and I'll give everybody free heating oil in the city of Meriden for the next 2 years.
Right.
Why not? Everybody, guys, you're gonna get free oil.
Yeah, why not? What people are it's 151 pages. This whole thing, I read every one of them because. In page 9, if you look at this American Rescue Plan, and it's coming from, the Treasury Department of Treasury. On page 9, they want public input on this. They really say we'd like really you to get public input on this.
Well, I think that,
and
listen, I give credit to the city for at least having the steering committee, unlike the Board of Ed, who decided to just put pet projects together and then try to make it look like it was transparent when really it wasn't. That really pisses me off.
Well, that was one thing I wasn't sure about. Were the taxpayers of Meriden going to share that money with the Board of Ed? But they got their own. They got their own check.
Yes, they got their own check.
Yeah, they got their own.
Yes.
So that answered my question there. But the whole thing with some of these some of them are, the whole thing with hiring somebody for 2 years. We have a grants administrator. I helped a friend of mine get a grant. It's called the Meriden Match. And he was like one of the most qualified persons for this merit. He put all his own money into, it was a burned out medical building on West Main Street. He did all the work himself inside. He came to me and said, geez, is there any money available? And I said, yeah, actually there is. There's some facade money. And, and it went through the grants administrator,
Correct.
which Matthew, quit. But we have a new grants administrator. Do we have 3 people in that economic development office
No,
now?
as far as I know, only one.
No. I know there's definitely 2. I know they filled Paula's. Remember that girl Paula that worked in economic? They filled that position, but Matthew Scarcione, he quit. And I didn't know if they hired another grants administrator.
I am not aware. I have no idea.
The things I read, there's a Lucy Diaz who represents the Economic Development Office, which I have yet to see anybody from that office show up at a meeting. I would think they would be at the meeting, to promote some of this stuff, because some of it's coming up. Maybe they will when it comes under economic development.
Yeah.
Some of the categories are funny too.
Well, first of all, I don't know who's taking a position for 2 years.
They actually wanted a contract for 5 years originally. They wanted to hire somebody for 5 years. I'm like, first of all, you'll go through this money in no time. Councilman Rhodey said, "Oh, this is a lot of money." I said, listen, we got $20 million from the NRG plant.
It's a spit in the bucket.
What do we have to show? What do we have to show for $20 million that NRG Energy gave us? Do we have anything to show for that? That was a lot of money too back then. So this money's going to go fast. There's no doubt. They've already exceeded the amount. They didn't approve it, of course.
Right.
But, it's going to go fast. And to me, there's actually money. If you read that whole 150, the guidelines, there's money for households. There's actually money for households if they qualify.
Right.
Which I'm going to bring that up at the meeting. Are you putting aside some money for people who really need, a little help?
Well, the only issue I have with that, John, is that now you're picking winners and losers, and you don't know. Again, there's probably thousands, maybe 10,000 people.
I don't know if they're required to give some of that money, because there are specific areas that they want them to spend the money on. So are they going to?
Apparently, they've capped it at 40%. They capped it at 40% for infrastructure, which
Yeah,
I
that
think
was their choice to cap.
Correct.
To cap at 40%.
that should have been 70%.
Yeah.
That should have been
Yeah.
70%.
So.
But John, well, I
Yeah,
could always talk to you for hours about this kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. No, I'll let you go. I mean, I am going to try. I'm going to try to see some of the applications tomorrow. I did have a conversation with, a gentleman at FOI. He doesn't understand. Of course, every time he hears Meriden, he's like, okay, now what? So.
Well, John, it is always a pleasure talking
So
with you.
I'm going to
sir.
find out, and I'll let you
Yeah,
know.
let me know.
Those are a couple of comments I wanted to get in.
Absolutely, always. John,
Okay,
always
great.
a pleasure talking to you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you.
Take care.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's so many things that the city could be spending money on. Again, some of these organizations with their applications and the description they had to put on with some of the nonsense. No, you've lost my trust, and therefore you can't go from $60,000 to $230,000 and expect me to believe that is an actual number. No, that means you're using that money for something else on top of it. So that's a big no. But listen, we'll talk more about this as things start getting approved. But this, and again, they capped the standing committee for some reason in their wisdom has capped the infrastructure at 40%, which makes no sense. It should be more towards 70%, 80% for infrastructure because that has the most effect on the people of the city of Meriden. And I hope that's something that maybe I don't know if the standing committee made that rule or the city council made that rule, but somebody needs to change that. So with that said, it is what it is. We had a caller here last week that really obviously hit a spot with people on my email. And I had to go back and read it. And I had the most one email I got was, why do you entertain it? As soon as she called you a nut, and she watches in horror, why do you entertain it? And I replied back, like I said, it was probably 3 or 4 that I got on it. And I said, no, because she is a prime example of what we're up against. And I said it that night. So I entertain those type of comments and those type of things. And if you go back and listen to the show, which I end up having to go do, I went back and watched the show. And I usually do that anyways, because I like to see what I do wrong and ways I can make the show better. So I went back and watched it. And if you look at the progression of the call, it started off very confrontational as why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? You're a nut. I watch it horror. But as we started having the conversation, she started agreeing with us. So what are we a nut about? And what are you watching horror if you're actually agreeing with what we're talking about? And she said it multiple times. So I just don't get it. But again, you can only change people's minds when you're willing to have the conversation. Listen, after all this stuff is said and done, we're going to get into some topics that most people never want to talk about. We call it the third rail politics. We talk about race. We're going to talk about religion. We're going to talk about abortion. These are things that we're going to talk about because these are things that the conversations need to be had. Abortion is going to be a big one coming up pretty soon because the Supreme Court heard a case that could totally take Roe versus Wade and throw it away. And we could be talking about a whole new world. But these are the topics that we need to have discussion on. I was just told last night, State Rep Fishbein had a meeting up in Rocky Hill about juvenile violence. And if you look up out in Waterbury today, a 14-year-old juvenile drove a stolen car, into a store. Well known to police, has multiple arrests at the age of 14. But these kids are kept let back out onto the street because of their age. These are the type of things we need to talk about. Why are these things happening? I'm going to try to get the state rep on so we can talk about it. But it's extremely important. We need to talk about race. We need to talk about it. If people are under the perception that there's a racism problem in America, we need to talk about it. It's inaccurate, but it's not. You shouldn't be afraid to talk about it, because the only way you fix differences is when you talk it out. And we'll be doing that on this show. This is straight talk. This isn't straight talk, but we're not going to touch this, or we're gonna kind of go around the side here and not try to upset anybody. We have no problem upsetting people here. Facts are the facts, and the facts don't care about your feelings. Juvenile crime problem is a huge issue right now. But why is that? Why is that? To me, it all starts at home. We need to get to the root causes of these things. And we got to start at the home. And I understand a lot of these inner cities, doesn't matter what color you are, usually starts with a single parent household. That's usually where it starts. But we'll get into that, and we're going to discuss these type of things in the weeks to come. But the fact that I let people like her, like Colleen, just go off, you need to see it, because that's what we're up against. But if you have the conversation and allow the conversation to happen, at the end of the day, they usually end up agreeing with you. And then they realize that, and I bet when she hung up that phone, I bet she turned around and thought to herself, he can't be that bad. He can't be that bad. I guess he's not a nut. And I don't know why I'm watching in horror, which I thought was the funniest thing ever. It's like if I was watching something in horror, I'd just turn it off. But we have a lot of issues going on that need to be discussed. George Logan is running for Congress. I've met the gentleman once. I know he sent me an email earlier today about an event coming up. Now, I don't know too much about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. But what I am going to talk about, though, is that I have a new system on my website. So my whole website for Filler Up is being upgraded. But while I can, we are going to run our first special. And since Filler Up is the primary reason why we could do this show, because, again, we have all this great technology here. If you go onto our website, tryfillerup.com, and you enter the promo, and you order oil, and you enter the promo code Straight Talk, you'll save 15 cents per gallon with a 100-gallon minimum. So share that if you like. Have them, of course, I want them to watch the show, which is why you guys are getting it. So if you need oil, you want to save 15 cents per gallon, enter the promo code Straight Talk, and you will be able to get that. And again, that's www.tryfillerup.com. And again, thanks to Filler Up, because they are, again, the reason why we are all able to be here. So I could afford all this equipment, and I can sit there and you guys can see my darling face on a weekly basis. But so again, tryfillerup.com, save 15 cents when you enter the promo code Straight Talk. So with that said, you don't need to know this. It's online. Oh, look at that. All my things are still up there. Yeah, I'll leave it there because you guys should. www.tryfillerup.com. There it goes, right here too. Or you could bother the old lady, 203-600-9425. But guys, thank you as always. It's always a pleasure being here. Again, I love the calls, so please never hesitate to not call. I always want to talk to you, no matter what the topic is. But until next week, I love you guys all. As always, God bless you. God bless the great city of Meriden. And of course, as always, God bless this beautiful country of ours. God bless America. I love you guys. I will see you again next week. Same great time, same great channel. Be here or be square. Love yous. Peace out.
And a million faces formed together, made for elevation. And my soldier won't surrender. Faith is like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you're crying from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping in the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath when they're crying from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. We're rising up, rising up, we're rising up, rising up, we're rising up. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance. You can't resist.